What is up, 2K crew? Welcome to this week's edition of the Turbo and 2K show. And if you don't know me, my name is Ryan Turbo Jackson. I am the host, and on the phone, I've got my luscious co host, Mr. 2K's Kaler. What's up, my brother?
How's it going?
Well, it is. It's been a weird weekend. I mean, we've had always that time between Christmas and New Year where you really don't know what the fuck day it is. And especially when you have sports almost every day, I mean, it's kind of hard to keep track and keep your sports boner intact and not blow your load too quick. So it's definitely been odd. I'll say that. I'll say that. We've been. If you remember 2Ks, we went from having no sports to kind of we're kind of spoiled right now. We've got
hmm
the NBA getting kicked off. We've got the obviously the NCAA football winding down, getting to the national title, which we're going to talk about a lot today, and then we've got the playoffs being set for the NFL. So life is good if you are a sports fan. So I got a new little ditty here, 2Ks, that I have to play, and I'm sorry that you can't see it, but I'm gonna do it. Bam, I'm gonna play, and you have found. It's the Turbo and 2K show. That worked. That worked. All right, so got that out of my system. Got that out of my system. And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to apologize because I don't have any cool overlays or anything like that. We were on my way home from my parents, and lo and behold, the power company decides they're going to fix the street light and take up both lanes of my road, so we couldn't get by. And we sat there for literally almost a half an hour. So I was going to use that time to make some cool overlays, but regardless, we're going to bring that content to yo ass anyways. Why? Because that's what we do, because we love you. So, 2Ks. My Irish, let's just get it, let's just throw it out there. Let's get it out of the way. Um, as most of you know, I obviously am a really big Irish fan, and but I'm also a realist too. I was not one of those Irish fans that was standing on top of my soapbox saying that we're going to beat Alabama and you know fuck the biggest point spread in history. That wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. Um, I, I'm going to be honest, 2Ks, and this is something that you and I talked about. I told you I didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into this game. But however, I was kind of impressed. I was kind of impressed. I have a feeling most folks thought that the Alabama was just going to run all over and just torch Notre Dame, throw up throw up a big 60 burger and call it a day. And when you sit back and look at it, Notre Dame had their chances.
hmm
The score was, I mean, there as anyone can see, no matter, and this is get you know we'll get into the Texas A&M should they have been in conversation here in a little bit, but I have a feeling whoever lined up against Alabama was going to get the same treatment that my Irish did.
hmm
And you and I have talked about it, at pain's length that both Notre Dame and Michigan aren't going to be relative until they get one of those iconic quarterbacks. Believe me, I'm not putting Ian Book up there with the Trevor Lawrences, the Kyle Trask, that level. But the just below level, I would put him there. He, if, and it's one thing that Brian Kelly has been, that's what Notre Dame has been kind of known for lately is offensive linemen. And you could just tell that the defensive line of Alabama was not. I mean, they were balls to the wall, and just kind of out muscled. I guess you could say the Irish offensive line, And so they really didn't give Ian Book a chance to throw a lot. So, and they couldn't get the running game going again. So when you say games are won and lost in the trenches, this is the prime example of that. But one of the main kind of cool things was the last touchdown did fuck the point spread up. So all you betters,
Yeah.
ha 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 ha, got your ass. But as a non-Irish fan, 2Ks, what were some of your takeaways?
Well, yeah. First of all, kind of like what you said, really the game went a lot better than kind of what I thought going into it. And then, even after watching just the first few minutes of the game, I think kind of everybody kind of thought, well, man, this game's gonna get really ugly. Just with the way the game started, Alabama marched right down the field, scored fast. Obviously got the ball right back. I think kind of 3-and-out on Notre Dame. And I think from that point, I think everybody kind of thought, well, Bama's just going to go off and score 40 plus 50 points, and it's going to kind of be what it was a few years ago in
Yeah.
that Alabama Notre Dame national championship game. And give credit to Notre Dame for not allowing that to happen. I mean, yeah, the score was 31-14, but I think that's a lot better than what a lot of people going into this game thought that was going to be. And Notre Dame didn't fold. They came back out after halftime. I thought, in a way, played just as good as kind of matched Alabama across the board in the second half of that game. And maybe Alabama, called the dogs off on them a little bit in the second half. Who knows? But this Alabama offense it's a special offense. I mean, the weapons that they have, the speed. Notre Dame can match up with them size for size, but they can't match up with their speed. Notre Dame might have 2 or 3 guys on the field, as far as premier athletes, and Alabama, they have 7 or 8 guys on the field every single play that are, premier athletes. So that's where, it just, and that's kind of what, where Alabama and a lot of these schools in the South separate from majority of the teams, with the exception of maybe Ohio State, in the Midwest.
Yeah, and excuse me, and then you could definitely tell when Notre Dame kind of brought, filled the box to stop the run. Alabama went over the top, and that receiver they have, oh my gosh, he pretty much stole the Heisman, and when you drop coverage to double him, Najee Harris just cuts you up or just jumps the fuck over you. I mean, he jumped over a grown ass man. 2Ks, a 6 foot tall man. He jumped over. Even as an Irish fan, I was like, holy shit! I was impressed. I mean, you've seen some of the guys where they jump over them, but they're like at knee level. No, he jumped over a man. So it's going to be, and getting to your point about the offense, this is the most prolific offense that Nick Saban's ever had. He's it's averaging almost 50 points a game, 49.7 or whatever it is. And for the Irish defense to hold them to what they did, I think is a pretty good accomplishment, considering. And when you say kind of call the dogs off, who knows? But traditionally, that's not Nick Saban. He puts the balls to the wall and wants to choke you out and just pretty much demoralize you. So what his game plan was, I don't know. But all in all, as an Irish fan, and for all of the all the press and all of the media kind of bashing Brian Kelly about, oh, well, you get there and never win it, you get there and never win it, you get there and never win it. How many other teams are actually getting there? That's my point. They're on some of the Irish Facebook groups. They're like, we need to get rid of Kelly. We need to get someone that can close the season. No. I've always been a huge Coach Kelly fan, and I still am. I'll stand behind him. How many other coaches are consistently getting there aside from Dabo and Saban that are getting to that semifinal four? Not many can consistently like Coach Kelly is. Now, is he having good performances once he gets there? Then you can argue that no, he's not putting up good performances. However,
Mhm.
with this last trip, it wasn't an embarrassment. Yes, they lost, but was it an embarrassing loss, like a 44-14, or some of the other more embarrassing losses? Sure, this was 17 points. 17 points. Yeah, I have no issues, no qualms. Coach Kelly, keep doing what you're doing. I know you watch the show. Turbo loves you, and that's pretty much all you need to know. But let's get into kind of a sidebar here, because it does have to do with the Rose Bowl. Was Texas A&M trying to they had an argument to say they should be in rather than Notre Dame. Now, if Texas A&M played North Carolina last night, Notre Dame blew the doors off North Carolina. North Carolina was down 3 running backs, 2 receivers, and I believe their top defensive back. And Texas A&M beat him by 14 points. It was a close game until way late in the fourth quarter. So if you use North Carolina as kind of a measuring stick, then no. The committee got it right and put the right team in over between A&M and Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Did Notre Dame play like shit and kind of play backdoored their way into the title game or the Final Four? Sure, but I think that game between North Carolina and Texas A&M kind of made a believer out of a lot of people, because it obviously, except for Jimbo Fisher, but all in all, I mean, am I wrong, 2Ks? I mean, is it just my Irish bias that's playing?
No, I said it. I mean, I said it. I think 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I felt like Notre Dame had put themselves in a position where, regardless of what happened in that conference championship game, I thought they were in. I thought it was more of a must-win game for Clemson.
Yeah.
Because I think if Clemson loses, that gives them 2 losses to Notre Dame. To me, there was no way that Clemson would have been able to stay in. But look, Jimbo Fisher, he has an argument himself also, and as a head coach, you're not just going to sit there and be quiet about it. Like that's
right.
That's going to rub your own players the wrong way. That's going to rub your fans the wrong way. So, I don't have anything against him, speaking his mind, and we hear about it every year. There's always that coach or two that are running their mouth at the end of the season that think that their team should be in. And in a lot of ways, they have very good points, and that's why I keep on saying we need to go to at least an 18 playoff.
Yeah, I agree. And I think 8 teams would be pretty much ideal, because like you and I have even said that the March Madness tournament, there's always, what is there, like 67 or 68 teams now, and there's always the one left out. So no matter what size tournament you're going to have, there's always going to be one left out. But I think the top 8 seems very, very fair, and you would get, I think you would get one. College football is better when the Big Ten is relevant. Hopefully this was the rock bottom, and hopefully they only Coach Harbaugh, and now didn't they fire the defensive coordinator Don Hunt? Is that his name?
Don Brown.
Don Brown. Sorry. Yes.
Yep. He's gone. So I'll be curious to see what they decide to go do with that. And I think they're kind of waiting on what they're going to do as far as with the defensive coordinator until they get. Right now it sounds like Harbaugh's going to get the extension, but then some of the other things that you read, it sounds like maybe he's interested in hearing from some of these NFL teams that are, going to be looking for a coach also. So
right.
I don't know. It's kind of I don't really know what to think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because this is a it's one of those forks in the road. Do you continue on and see where it goes, or do you complain hang a complete left and change everything from top to bottom? So, and I have a feeling that I mean obviously Harbaugh's not going to make a decision or do anything until the NFL playoffs are done, or at least until the Super Bowl is at least you know, the participants are at least close to getting to that point. But speaking of college football, let's stick with that here for a little bit. Texas fires their coach and hires Sarkisian from
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. He's the right now he's the play caller and offensive coordinator. He's had stints at I want to say USC with the Falcons, and stint with USC didn't go too well. Didn't go too well. When you show up drunk to work, that really doesn't work out too well. As I take a drink, but it's water, I promise. But yeah, so it's that one was interesting because current coach wasn't doing a bad job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it was one of those preconceived things where they kind of worked out a deal behind closed doors to get Sark, and they're like, this is the only opportunity we're gonna get. So, Tom Herman, bye bye. By the way, here's 15 mil for your,
Yeah, yeah,
here's
yeah.
15 mil. Get
Talk
the fuck
about
out of here. We're
yeah.
bringing in Steve Sarkisian. So, and it was almost like like ESPN mentioned the hire before they mentioned the fire. So that's what leads me to believe that this was already preconceived, and they had their shot and they took it. And not to say that obviously Tom Herman's going to find some other coaching gig because he was 4-0 in bowl games.
Oh yeah.
But I guess from what I gather is that everyone over at Texas wanted someone to help. They didn't think their quarterbacks were good enough, so Sark has been had his he in a long line of success with kind of coaching quarterbacks, being a quarterback whisperer, if you will. I hate that term, but even going back to USC with Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, that whole tree. When Pete Carroll was there, he was part of Pete Carroll's staff, and they read off a whole long line on ESPN this morning, and I was like, okay, I didn't realize that he kind of went that far back, but if that's the way they're going, let's see. Let's hope that Sarkisian takes a little bit better care of this job rather than the USC job that he kind of pissed away, and he's kind of learned from his mistakes, which we all do. Everyone deserves a second chance, and let's see that Texas. Hopefully this isn't one of those hires that Texas regrets here in a couple years, because the trend in college football is if you don't win your first year, then you suck. We might as well get rid of you and find someone that will. And 2Ks, you and I both know that it takes time to build a program. It takes time to get your recruits in there, to get your coaches, to get your system in there. And, kind of take a very, very local example, Michigan State. Their new head coach was. I was talking to Matt Asmus the other day, and I was like, D'Antonio kind of left the cupboard bare and with just a can of Spam left in it, and who the fuck wants to eat Spam? So that's of course that's a whole different can of worms that we won't get into right now, but it's the only reason I brought it up is obviously it happened here recently, and we were talking about college football. But so let's kind of switch gears back to back to the semifinal games, and if trying to think of how I want to word this, because I don't want to give away our show next week, so I want to kind of leave the people hanging. Well, let's put it this way: out of both games, who's the player on offense that kind of stood out the most to you?
Oh, definitely Smith from Alabama, the receiver. I mean, he's in my opinion, he's the best player in college football this season. What he's done as a wide receiver, just how explosive he is when he gets the ball in his hands, what he can do after the catch, how he's at full speed, and it takes him about one step and he's at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at times in that Notre Dame game, especially there in the first couple drives of the game, it was like everybody on the field that was wearing Notre Dame jersey looked like they were in slow motion, trying to keep up with him. And he's been doing that all season long. And in my opinion, I think he deserves to win the Heisman. Be the first wide receiver to win the Heisman since Desmond Howard, I believe. So, obviously it's very hard to win a Heisman as a wide receiver. Normally that award goes to your quarterbacks, or
Sure.
If it's not a quarterback, it's a running back. So, a wide receiver normally wide receivers only get, on a good day, they might get 8-9 touches compared to, a quarterback throwing the ball 20, 30 times a game, or a running back getting 20 carries. But that's just the season that kid has had. To me, he's the best player in college football.
And he's done it rather quietly. You really, up until probably 3 weeks ago, I didn't even know who the kid was. And when you look at the receiving records for Alabama, look at the receivers just in the last 10 years that have been there. He doesn't have the freakish size and athleticism that Julio Jones has. He doesn't have like the breakaway speed that Calvin Ridley had. Look at the two kids that just went in the draft, Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy. So there's four of them right there within the last 10 years that are making. I mean, obviously Julio Jones has been making an impact in the NFL for years. Arguably one of the best receivers in the NFL. Calvin Ridley, I think, because of the injuries of Julio Jones, has taken his spot and has quietly become a top 10 receiver in the league. And then you got the two rookies this year that are balling out. So for him to have these records with those dudes in front of him and to kind of do it, unless you watch Alabama football every week or you're an SEC fan, like I said, it's been probably the last 3 weeks since he popped up on my radar. So, and then all of a sudden to be, breaking all these records, and then all of a sudden, whoop, stealing your Heisman, bitches. All you quarterbacks think you had it? Nope, this bitch is mine. Me and Desmond are gonna go pose, and it's gonna be badass. Because 2Ks, if this kid wins the Heisman, there's going to be a picture of him and Desmond posing together in that classic Heisman pose, because that was Desmond's trademark. So there's that picture's gonna happen. You know it is. But rightfully so. Like I said, when this kid was running routes, there was no one in the fucking picture. No one in the picture. And the only other player that I could honestly give it to would be Justin Fields. I mean, kid played out of his mind. Out of his mind. Like I'm still blown away. I am still blown away. But that's one, that's one game compared to a lot of games. So
yeah, to me with Fields is it just hasn't. He's got two things in my opinion that he has kind of going against him, and one is he's only played 7 games. I get it. His seventh game was he picked the best time to have his best game of his career. He's going to have the best game of his career again. Yep. In order to win this game, Monday night. But and then the other thing I have going against him is he just hasn't been very consistent. You look at just the game in the Big Ten championship against Northwestern. He single-handedly, it was almost like he was trying to lose that game for him. I mean, some of the decisions that he was making, he looked at times he looked like a freshman quarterback back there.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the game that Sermon had, rushing the ball in the Northwestern game, that game could have been totally different.
Yeah, when your running back has to run for 350 yards, that says something. And you're right. Even going back to last year, Fields was great a couple games, and then me. And especially this year. I mean, granted, hasn't had the amount of games to show us a lot, but I think it'll say a lot for him, not only for his resume but his draft stock. If he does go up and puts up, I'm not even going to say he has to put up the numbers that he did Friday to win, but it's going to have to be close, because that Alabama, like we said, that Alabama offense is very hard to stop, and I just need to see more. I need to see more, and as good of a kid as Justin Fields is, I want to believe in, I believe in him as an individual, as a kid, as a player. I just need to see more. I need to see more.
Mm-hmm.
And would it shock me if he goes and just destroys Alabama's defense? No. But I think Alabama's defense is a little bit tougher than Clemson's. So obviously it's something that, next Monday it's going to go down. It's gonna go down, and like I said, I'm stoked. I want a good game. I don't want a blowout, but like I getting back to one of the reasons I'm most excited is we don't have to listen to a whole week of Dabo and Nick Saban going back and forth about how they love each other and have the utmost respect for each other, and no, they want to beat the shit out of each other. I'm sorry. And so yeah, I'm stoked. Like I said, it's good to see the Big Ten back, and I hope that it's something that like I said, it doesn't have to be Ohio State, but the Big Ten needs to be relevant. And now that they're there, don't shit the bed on me. Don't shit the bed on me. Go ball out. It's not a matter of just you don't need to go blow Alabama out. Just keep it close. Keep it a good game. If you win, you win. Cool. If you lose, you lose. Cool. Just give me a good game. Just give me a good game. That's all I'm asking. Coach Day. That's all. That's what the Turbo and 2K show is asking, brother. Just give us a good game. Give us a good game. Now, secretly 2Ks. It would be nice if Ohio State did blow out Alabama. Because I'm not a huge Bama fan, so
No, me neither.
If Bama lays an egg, I'm cool with that. But Ohio State, don't lay an egg, please don't lay an egg.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2Ks, we're about at that hour point, my friend. Is there anything else that you want to bring up?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure next week we'll be bringing you some NFL playoff coverage, because that's when it starts. And for those of you in the 2K group, I believe it's Saturday at 4 o'clock. We're doing a live. We're going to be a Zoom room for everybody. Going to officially award the fantasy football winners. Pay them out live on from my PayPal. So everyone gets paid at the same time, and there's no Turbo didn't pay me. No, fuck you. We're doing it live. Right in front of everybody. But yes, we'll be just shooting the shit. Of course, we don't know which playoff game it's going to be, but it's the middle one on Saturday. If anyone is interested, and if you're wondering what the fuck I'm talking about, go to facebook.com/groups/Turbo and 2Ks to join the 2K crew. And I will post a Zoom link for everyone in the group, not just the folks that played fantasy football, because you know what? The more the merrier, right, 2Ks?
Yes, sir.
The more shit talking we can do, the better, because that's the most fun part about fantasy football. Well, winning money is the best part, but the second best part is talking shit. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.